This is a special Walker Cup episode. The Back of the Range Golf Podcast will introduce you to the finest amateur golfers in the United States. Some have competed in major championships, others have won USGA titles, and many have been named All-Americans. The one thing they all have in common? They all want to be one of 10 men chosen to represent their country at the 47th Walker Cup matches at Royal Liverpool Golf Club. This is the Road to Hoylake, presented by AmateurGolf.com. And now your host, Ben Adelberg.
And welcome back to the Road to Hoylake, presented by AmateurGolf.com. I'm your host, Ben Adelberg. Today is Wednesday, August 14th, and depending on when you're listening to this episode, the top 64 have already been identified and they have started their matches at the US Am. Or perhaps there are some guys in one of those awful 16 for 4 playoffs. Regardless, the US Amateur is about to go to match play where absolutely anything can happen, and usually does. It's only going to get crazier from here on, so follow along on AmateurGolf.com for in-depth information. Use that coupon code BOTR to get 90 days free access, and you'll be a USAM insider. In this episode, we're going to focus on the two top junior amateurs in the world, Akshay Bhatia and Ricky Castillo. If you follow amateur golf, and golf for that matter, you've heard the name Akshay Bhatia. He's the number 1 ranked junior amateur in the world, and while you won't see him on a college campus next year, there's a good chance you'll see a lot of him on TV. Akshay is going to forego his college experience and turn pro right away after the Walker Cup. He received one of the 3 automatic picks to the U.S. squad on July 24th, along with Stu Hagestad and Cole Hammer. We chatted about his experience playing Junior Ryder Cup in Paris, traveling to Europe this summer to get some links golf experience in, and yes, we even spoke about his coach, the phenomenon known as George Gankas. Also featured in this episode is Ricky Castillo of Yorba Linda, California. He is committed to be a Florida Gator and will start there this fall. Get used to hearing his name, and also get used to the fact that he's only 18 years old. He had an incredible run to the semis at the Western Am. He was medalist at the North and South earlier this summer. The North and South has played at Pinehurst, by the way, and he almost did it again at the US Am. He went 72-66. He's going to be right near the top of the match tree. Great kid, smart kid. And if you want to talk about someone making a serious run at the Walker Cup team, it's really hard to find anyone playing better than Ricky right now. Before we get to the episode, remember, subscribe in Apple Podcast and Spotify. Get the latest episodes in this series. Or if you need to get caught up and you need to binge listen to them, go ahead and do that. Also, follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all at thebackoftherange.com or in the show notes of this episode. As always, let's welcome back Julie Williams, managing editor of AmateurGolf.com, to get a little more insight and thoughts on Akshay and Ricky. Julie, welcome back. How are you?
Thanks for having me back.
Well, Julie, I know that you're getting all packed up and ready to head over to Pinehurst to cover the next few days of the U.S. Amateur. Right now, the final 64, the match tree, is still being finalized as we speak. There's going to be a big playoff this morning, one of those nightmarish 16 for 4 playoffs that I spoke about in the intro. So instead of talking about the things that you're maybe surprised at or things that you're really interested in, we're going to go ahead and wait and do that on a later episode. But right now, I wanted to get your thoughts on the 2 guests on this episode, 2 juniors, Akshay Bhatia and Ricky Castillo. What can you tell us about Akshay?
Akshay is, yes, he's a junior. Yes, he's 17 years old, but he has such a wealth of golf experiences because this is kind of his thing. He has been very open to the fact that he's not going to go to college. That's not his thing. He wants to play golf. It's crazy to listen to him lay out just a day in the life of Akshay, what he does in terms of practice and time he spends on the TrackMan. And he has, a coach on East Coast and West Coast. He's working with George Gankas on the West Coast, but Alan Terrell out of Myrtle Beach is also working with him. They're sort of tag teaming him. So this guy is all golf all the time. But I think, just you look at kind of the experiences he had. One thing he's doing that I think is really interesting is he has been trying to Monday qualify for a lot of PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour events, and that is grueling. I mean, you just have to go. I mean, the way he put it to me when I caught up with him at a junior tournament earlier this year is you basically have 18 holes to hit 63 shots. You can make no mistakes. You just have to fire birdie after birdie after birdie. So, I mean, he knows how to play that kind of golf. He's got match play experience. He's got European golf experience. He played the British Am, or he tried to get into match play. He didn't make it through stroke play there, but he played the European Amateur the next day or the next week, finished in the top 10. So I think also, we know he's going to go professional after the Walker Cup. That's out there, that's set, that's announced. So frankly, I think he probably has a pretty good state of mind going into this week.
Yeah, and the thing that's kind of interesting is everyone has their opinion on him on what he should do, and oh my gosh, you got to go to college, and how can you think that you're ready to take on the PGA Tour and win at the age of 18? I really enjoy the conversation because I don't think he has that goal set of like, all right, here's where I have to be next year. This is just what he wants to do. Any hesitation you think, I know he got the automatic spot to be on the Walker Cup team, but again, going over to Royal Liverpool, going to Hoylake, it's links golf. I know he has a little bit of experience with that, but do you see any reason why he would not be really a strong part of this team going over there?
I can't really, I can only see the guys are going to be older than him. That's just the way it is. He's going to be playing with a lot of college players, but even like a Cole Hammer is only a couple years older than him. So, I think he'll mesh well with the team. I think that's a huge part of it, just the team atmosphere and fitting in and feeling like you're comfortable and you can go out and play with any other player on the team. And, the thing that tells me that that's going to work out is just watching him interact with his fellow junior golfers. I mean, he is he's always up for a putting contest or a long drive contest or, just palling around with them. So I feel like it's going to be very similar in the team room. So, I think that part of it is going to go smoothly. You just can't argue that the guy is not equipped or not experienced enough to play on that team. So, I think he's going to have a great time. I think he's going to be a great fit.
Another junior that I spoke with that is in this episode that I was super impressed with, Ricky Castillo out of Yorba Linda, California. He's going to be at the University of Florida next year. Man, I was really impressed with him when speaking with him.
I am excited to hear you say that, and my ears are perked up, on Ricky, and I'm looking forward to following him as a college golfer. Just because, look, he has a lot of single-digit finishes on his, world ranking this year. He was in the Final Four at the Western Am. He made the Final 8 at the North and South, where, oh, by the way, he was stroke play medalist at Pinehurst. That bodes pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Third at Sage Valley. That's the junior tournament. There's a junior Ryder Cup start in there, which, it's a junior tournament, but that's how these guys learn how to play in these formats and learn how to play in team golf atmosphere. So he's another guy who he's young, and so the question is always there, there's a 17-year-old on the team already, or is there going to be another incoming college freshman picked? Who knows? So, that's the only maybe question mark. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but yeah, he's an interesting guy.
If they're looking at just his age, then maybe it's an issue. But if you take the time to speak with him, and at least in my opinion, if you take time to speak with him and learn more about him, carries himself and just tremendously. And yeah, I was super impressed with what he's doing. Then he's very, very close with his coach, JC Deacon at UF. They have a great relationship. In the interview, when I spoke with him, they've known each other since he was 11, since he recruited Ricky's older brother at UNLV. So the relationship is there. It's not like he just got a bunch of letters and picked UF because he likes the facility. There's a long relationship there. So, very impressed. Very impressed.
Yeah. I think you have to look at more than just age, right? More than age and tournament finishes. So the personality and the experience goes a long way.
Well, I know that you're getting excited for match play, which starts today. So I know you're going to be out there checking on these matches and keeping abreast of the situation. So we'll catch up later in the week As always, thanks for joining us here on the Road to Hoylake series, and look forward to speaking to you as the match play portion kind of crystallizes and we see who's going to be competing for the Havemeyer Trophy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Julie. Look forward to speaking with you later this week while you're at Pinehurst covering the U.S. Amateur for AmateurGolf.com. Let's get to our conversation now with Akshay and Ricky. Akshay, welcome to the back of the range. How are you?
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So let's walk back to a few days ago. It's July 24th. This is the day that the United States Golf Association has decided to announce the first three, the top three guys on the World Amateur Rankings, top three Americans that will get an automatic spot on the Walker Cup team. I know you follow the ranking points. You're no stranger to that, so I'm sure you knew where you stood. I'm sure the call wasn't a surprise, but can you walk me through and the listeners through that day a little bit?
Yeah, so actually I was coming back from California, took a red eye and just was super tired. So we were in the Uber car and I got a call from the USGA saying that with the rankings that I was at, that I'd automatically get picked for the USA team Walker Cup, and that was just a dream come true. You know, even though I was pretty positive I was going to get the spot, you just never know with how the Walker Cup selections are.
Yeah, and it's almost like one of those things, like you said, with the 104-week rankings with the Wagger, it just, some things drop off, some things add. In fact, Stu Hagestad got the call too, and I don't think he was expecting it. I think he was at 4, and then that last week put him into 3. So you're right. It's something probably that it's not real until it's real.
Yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned travel, taking a red eye. I'm just curious, of all the places you've been, if we're going to look in your passport of all the countries you've traveled, can you rattle off a few names for me that you've been in the world? You're only 17 years old. I'm curious, where in the world has Akshay been lately?
Yeah, I've been to Paris, Argentina, Austria, Scotland, Ireland, and London. So it's been pretty cool being a world traveler the last year. For sure.
Nice. When you're traveling, what are some things that just absolutely have to be with you at all times? I mean, separate of your clubs and separate of, obviously, luggage and clothes and all that stuff. But what are some of the things, because a lot of people listening, they go on golf trips. They're traveling all over the world. What are things that you have to have with you at all times?
Definitely have to have my AirPods, my headphones, foam roller. Obviously, my phone is a necessity for sure.
Of course.
But I think headphones are the biggest thing for me because it's easy to get bored on a plane. So podcasts, music, movies, TV shows, it's just, it gets through the days for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get into a little bit about your start in the game. I know, being from North Carolina, you're a California guy, but I know you're on the East Coast. You're only 17, but talk to me a little bit about when you first started the game. How did you get into it? Was it family? Was it friends? Do you remember how you first started playing golf?
Yeah, so my dad, he played recreational golf, and my sister, who's older than me, who played in college, she grew up following after dad, and we started playing junior golf very, very young. There was a small junior tour that some family friends ran when we were living in California, and I just used to watch her, and ever since then, that's kind of when I started. And my dad kind of made me wait a little longer than she did, which is, I guess, a blessing in disguise because some people can burn out very early in golf.
Sure.
But so I started around 6 or 7, and I just remember always going to the range. Before I'd go to the range, I'd watch Tiger, Phil Mickelson, Retief Goosen, Ernie Els, all these guys, and I'd go that day and try and swing like them. Whoever was leading or whoever was playing well, I'd watch them and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna swing like Phil today and raise my left heel and get my backswing super long or blah blah blah.
Sure.
So that's how I got in, and then ever since I moved to North Carolina, it's kind of just been amazing the way I've had the facilities next to me and to play and have fun every day.
Let me ask you just a couple questions about Junior President's Cup and Junior Ryder Cup. I think it's great that for people that don't know, you're passing on the college route. You're turning pro after the Walker Cup, but you played Junior President's Cup and Junior Ryder Cup. How much did that shape your decision to remain an amateur long enough to kind of challenge for a spot on the Walker Cup team?
I mean, those experiences were something like no other. Going to Paris especially was amazing. Seeing somewhere I've never been before. That was the first country I've actually gone to outside of the United States. But I never expected myself to make the Walker Cup. It never crossed my mind to
really
be a part of the team. I mean, last year, if you would have asked me you're going to be on the Walker Cup team, I would have just laughed and wouldn't even believed it. But I mean, now that I'm going to be part of this Walker Cup with a very strong team and going overseas again is going to be.
Yeah, I could see it's clearly got it has a big effect. When you mentioned it, didn't cross your mind. Well, when did it start kind of crossing your mind and thinking to yourself, okay, I know where I sit in the rankings. When did it start becoming a reality? Because I know, you went over and played the European Amateur. You went over and believe played in the British Amateur as well. So was that part of your strategy to get yourself ready for links golf? Kind of walk me through, when did it start becoming a reality where, okay, let's get prepped for this?
Yeah, I think definitely, when I made the Walker Cup practice session, just being a part of that team with, the best amateurs in the world, and to be part of that was awesome and a lifetime experience, just the courses we were able to play. And I was actually hurt at the time, so I didn't do much golfing that week other than just chipping around and putting. And then I've been able to, talk to Captain Crosby during that week and kind of keep in touch with him a little bit.
Sure.
Once I won the Jones Cup, that was just kind of the statement I wanted to have. And, I think that just was the point where I was like, I have a very good shot at making this team. Also, I mean, playing in the web.com and the Valspar helps my WAGR, just playing against those capacity of players. But definitely going over to Europe this summer was huge, just because I want to learn about links golf and just see how much different it is, because I definitely could have stayed home and, played some of the local stuff, but I just definitely wanted to experience the challenges of links golf and, kind of get used to the time zones and
sure
the weather. So
when you went over and then coming back, if, forget about giving yourself a, report card, so to speak, of how you performed, but what were maybe a couple things that, on the flight back, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I maybe wasn't expecting that, or here's a part of my game that maybe I need to pay a little bit more attention to that's going to help me, when I come back over here in September?
Yeah, I think playing in crosswinds was something I've experienced, but just not that brutal.
Right.
I mean, you got to learn how to hit draws in the fade winds and vice versa. Flighting the ball is not anything new to me, obviously, but just hitting against the wind is something I never really challenged in America. And over there, a lot of pars is really good. And
right. Okay.
Here it's, you can make 8 birdies if you're playing very well. But over there, it's like you should even par every day. You're going to win a golf tournament. So I definitely learned that coming back home.
Okay. So the other thing I want, you mentioned you were injured at the practice session. I think we've seen in the last several years, the landscape of physical fitness in the game of golf is, back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of golfers working out. It was basically Tiger and VJ that kind of started everything, along with obviously Gary Player. And then, we've seen, players like Rory and Tiger maybe, get some injuries in the gym or change their physiology of how their body looks. You're very slight build, still growing, obviously, still going to put on weight. I'm just curious, what is your strategy with fitness, and how do you go about staying in shape and preventing injuries moving forward?
Definitely traveling is putting wear and tear on the body.
Yeah.
So just making sure I'm getting work done as much as I can when my trainer's home and when I'm home, because he works on the PGA Tour, so he's traveling quite a bit. But I mean, just a lot of stretching, mobility stuff. Making sure that if something doesn't feel right, I get it taken care right away, because that's it's going to happen a lot traveling so much week in and week out. And eventually when I gain some weight, it's going to be easier on myself, just because my joints will be a little stronger. But overall, I mean, I try and work out as much as I can on my off weeks, and like I said, see my chiropractor, my PT, and get a massage every once in a while.
I think any amateur, any professional, even the weekend golfer, confidence is just so important in the game. It's something that really comes through with any interview I've ever seen you done. It just seems like you're very poised and you have that confidence. And, whether it's an elite amateur trying to close out a win, or a 20 handicapper trying to get the ball over the water for the first time, you've had this rise in the game. You're making new strides all the time, whether it's, trying to Monday into a PGA Tour event, or playing in a PGA Tour event. How do you remain confident when you're consistently getting yourself into new surroundings?
It's all self-belief.
Okay.
My coach George Gankis and I always talk about being okay with any outcome, and that's what I'm still learning. I'm still very hard on myself, but just I got to be okay with whatever comes at me. And if I play well, great. If not, then I move on and I learn from it. And hopefully I don't have that same mistake happen again. So it's just, I mean, I know I have the capability of winning. It's shown the last few years, and I can win at any level for sure. I get my mind straight, and I keep everything in front of me, because I'm so young that everything's going to come at me really fast. And as long as I can just stay in the moment and enjoy what is going to come, I feel like I can have a successful career.
Yeah. You mentioned one of your coaches, George Gankis. For anyone that has not been on Instagram and doesn't follow golf, I mean, he has really exploded over the last several years. I watch his videos. I watch how his interaction with top level amateurs and professionals. He kind of has, he's got the flip flops, he's got the flat billed hat, and California cool all the way around. But at the end of the day, he has to have the knowledge to be your coach. I'm wondering, what was maybe one of the first interactions you had with him, how you got hooked up to where, at the end of the day, like I said, looking past the outward appearance and everything else that goes with it, what about his coaching really drew you in?
I first got started my older cousin. He's like a big brother to me. He was seeing him, I probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I was in California trying to do I think the Farmers Monday and one other one, and I wasn't hitting it very good. I've never really had any coaches, so it's like I was taking to my coach, and at the time it was just, you just text George, and it was easy to get in, didn't have to go through his assistant. So that was kind of the first interaction I had with him, and ever since then, I've my swing's gotten better. I've been able to use the ground very well, and I've always been the person that has had a very good short game as far as chipping and putting.
Sure.
So just having him and having his knowledge about power, just being really efficient, having good ball patterns, and having good ball striking, it was just all new to me. I mean, I was 13 years old, but I think the biggest thing for him is that, one, he has huge self-belief in all of his players, especially me and Wolfie. And I'm not technical, but I like working on new things. I like trying to get better. Even when I'm playing really well, I always want to work on something, because I'm going to be honest, I do get bored sometimes when golf just seems so easy. I tell George, dude, I want to get better. I want to work on something. I'm bored. And I guess being in his presence, honestly, is just amazing, because he came from being a caddy at a local golf course to being one of the best coaches in the world. And he's always had self-belief, and you just kind of, you get the same feeling being in his presence. I've honestly been nervous sometimes just being around him because he's such a big shot, and I give him a hard time about that stuff. But
Good.
he's really just an amazing person, and I just can't wait for the journey that we have in front of us.
So he teaches out of Westlake. I love the fact that one of the best coaches in the world is giving lessons at a public track where everyone's kind of hitting off mats. I know you guys use the grass too, but a lot of the videos are off of mats. Let's just pretend, Akshay, for a minute, I'm not going to understand everything that comes out of George Gangus's mouth. I'm 42, you're 17. This is your chance to make me feel even older. What are some of the phrases and descriptive words that he uses during a lesson that if I'm just standing there walking past and I'm going to be like, I have no idea what these guys are talking about. So make me feel old. I'm giving you full permission. Throw it out there to where I'm just going to not understand what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, he'll tell me or Padre Carrington or whoever if we need to get, more front bend, he tells us to eat the golf ball. Tell us.
Okay.
He says get the long duck. Honestly, I don't know what that means, but he just says some of the funniest stuff, and all the kids in Westlake it's just so funny because they all love George, and obviously Scooby's a big thing, and Scooby.
All right, what is Scooby? All right, what's Scooby?
Scooby, yeah. I don't know. It's just all this made up stuff. We all talk some of the weirdest stuff, but it is we all just talk to each other like that, and
okay.
It's definitely grown in junior golf. Everyone's like, "What up, G?" and
sure.
"What up, Doobie?" and all that stuff. But it's he's definitely a very marketable person as far as getting some slogans out there.
This makes me feel better, dude, because now that one of his prized pupils doesn't necessarily understand everything that comes out of his mouth, I don't feel so bad by not understanding it. So that's perfect. So
yeah.
So let me ask you this: you've played on the PGA Tour, you've played the Valspar. I know that's where you want to be. I know you've been around, PGA Tour players, but still, you're 17. So when do you kind of find yourself looking at these guys as sources of information rather than just maybe, unreachable figures?
I mean, I definitely think all of them are big resources for me.
Yeah.
They've all been around the block. They've all, a lot of the top guys, if you're able to talk to them, you pick their brains because they've done some amazing things and they've dealt with the pressure and just the self pressure you can put on yourself. But I mean, I've done some things that these guys haven't experienced in junior golf and amateur golf, and so it kind of goes both ways. But definitely just the way they think around the golf course, the way that the different shots they have around the greens or coming into the wind or downwind or anything like that. I try and learn as much as I can so I'm prepared for what's at stake starting on the PGA Tour in a few months.
Well, I'm gonna get you out of here. I know you got to get prepared for your next event. I know that Walker Cup is coming up. Obviously, I just wanted to touch on the fact you've as it's well known you're foregoing college, turning pro after the Walker Cup. I'm sure that that you get a lot of attention for that. Whether on everyone has an opinion. Whether they think that you should go to college or whatever, and of course everyone can have their own opinion. Is this anything that really affects you either positively or negatively? Does the noise ever really become an issue? Does it drive you to perform, or do you just flat out ignore it? I'm just curious. That people are talking and everyone has a thought. Where do you kind of find yourself moving forward? Is it something that you really pay attention to?
I feel like a lot of people now realize that you take a look at, Matt Wolff especially, because he's obviously grown up with a lot of like a target on his back with his golf swing, and look at what he's doing and what he's done already. So I feel like people kind of understand like these kids coming out of college or me, we can obviously play golf. Yeah. And in a way, I look the way at Brooks Koepka talks, and I want to prove people wrong. So if people don't agree with what I'm doing, and obviously it's unnormal, no one's really done it like I have.
Sure.
But a lot of people just don't understand the way I do it or how I'm doing it, the way I'm going about it. So until I'm able to get the starts and show what I'm capable of doing, then the sky's the limit for sure. So
Yeah. Do you actually? I wanted to ask you. Do you actually have any sort of set specific goals for the next maybe 2 to 3 years? I mean, you could play professionally on tours, whether it's the PGA or Corn Ferry or even state opens. I mean, you could do that for 2 3 years and still be under 20 21 years old. I'm just curious. Do you have anything specific as far as what your goals look like for the next 2 to 3 years that you would consider a success? Or
not necessarily.
okay.
I mean, a lot of the new stuff, it's just going to be all learning experiences for
Yeah.
me. And, that's why we wanted to do this so young, because once I learn everything that's going to be happening in the next 2 years or whatever, 1 to 2 years, and by the time I'm 19, 20, I'm going to be ready for everything that's going to come at me when all these guys are just starting. I'm going to be there by now.
Yeah.
I mean, Monday qualifiers, especially, I've been doing it for 4 years, and I don't know how many people have, seen that or whatever, but Monday qualifiers are tough. And, if I get to the point where I'm in that situation where I have to try and Monday qualify to get some status, I've been through the ropes already. I think that's huge.
Anything with your Monday qualifier experience that, I mean, what maybe is one of the biggest thing you learn about that specific, I guess, type of golf? Because shooting a solid score of 70 isn't going to do it for you. So, what have you learned about yourself and about the art of Monday qualifiers over the last several years?
There's definitely a lot of pressure going walking to the range. You just have to play a perfect round of golf, but
Yeah.
it teaches you how to go low. You get to a point where, there's obviously some pins where you don't go at, and wedges where you're like, okay, let's go for this. Let's go for this. And it's just, you kind of just freewheel it. You get in the moment where you try and make another birdie and another birdie and another birdie. And once you see a bunch of birdies go up, then at the end of the day, if you are capable of, shooting 7 under, then you can do it on the PGA Tour for sure. And
well, Akshay, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know that you are just ramping up for the USAM at Pinehurst, right in your backyard, and then you're off to Hoylake. So, congrats. Personally, really, really glad to see you on that Walker Cup team. I know you got great things ahead for you moving forward. Wish you all the best, and best of luck at Hoylake.
All right, Scooby, see ya.
Thank you, Scooby. Congrats on the Walker Cup pick. All the best to you at Hoylake and beyond as you start your professional career later this year. Our next guest, incoming freshman at the University of Florida, Ricky Castillo. Ricky, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
We're here on this road to Hoylake, and we're kind of touching base with all of the players that are kind of trying to polish up their resumes right before the decisions are made of who gets a spot on that U.S. Walker Cup team. As I said, you're at the USAM at Pinehurst. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what your summer's been like leading up to that?
It's been a great summer. I mean, first I started off playing the North and South End, which actually was at Pinehurst this year. It's at Pinehurst every year, so I always love playing in that event because Pinehurst is such a great place, and I thought I was fortunate enough to be able to play it, and it was on the number 2 and 4 course, just like the USAM. So it was set up, and I think they were trying to practice. Setting up the course for the USM, so it should be playing very similar to what we played it. So I think that's really a big help. And I played pretty well there. I won stroke play, and then I lost in the quarterfinals to Cooper Dawsey, who eventually ended up winning the tournament. He's a really great player. Yeah. So, and then that's how I started my summer. And then a couple weeks later, I went to Inverness Club for the US Junior. Played pretty well there in stroke play. I didn't play my best in match play. I lost in the round 32 to one of my good friends, Castillo Milwaukee, who was, I think, in that match, I think he was 6 under through 8 against me.
That's
that's
a buzzsaw.
Yeah. He went off, and I was like, there's nothing I can do. It just happens. And then I just came back. A week ago, I was at the Western Amateur and played probably the best I've played all summer out there. I was hitting the ball really well. I mean, I played pretty well in stroke play. I didn't play amazing, but I played well enough to get in the match play. I think I came T5th in stroke play, and then won my first 2 matches, and then lost in the semifinal to Daniel Wetterich, who's a really good player from Ohio State, and he didn't end up winning the finals, but even to make it as far as the semifinals, I thought was a really good achievement, especially since it's 156 guys that start off.
Oh yeah,
And then to make in the top 16 is really good. And then to make it all the way to semifinals is, I mean, I always thought those match play events, you're always going to think, well, only one guy is going to come home happy.
sure.
So it's difficult. So, I mean, it's difficult to be completely pleased, but you always have to give yourself a pat on the back. I mean, for the way I played, I thought I played really, really solid. So it's been a fun summer so far.
That's great. Well, let's just hit on the Western really quick while we're talking about it. It's the next to the last tournament that everyone is kind of focusing on before they, get to the USAM and those decisions are made to make the Walker Cup team. You're relatively young. You're a junior. You're not, don't have, college golf experience yet. I know you're heading over to Florida. When you go into that tournament, are you thinking about Walker Cup at that point, or are you just kind of thinking, hey, let's just play this Western for what it is? I'm just curious what your mindset is in a Walker Cup year.
To me, I really wasn't thinking about the Walker Cup. I mean, obviously it'd be great to be on the Walker Cup team, but it's not up to my decision. I'm just gonna honestly, I just went out there, just had no expectations, just thinking, hey, I'm just gonna play golf, and whatever happens, happens. I mean, there's still one more tournament at the USM, so anything can happen. So I just thought, just play your best, and don't worry about the Walker Cup or anything like that, because I know when people think about the Walker Cup, or they think about something like that, it gets in their head, and they're like so focused on playing for something instead of just playing for themselves. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like you just kind of have to. It obviously has to be in the back of your mind, but at the same time, you have to forget about it, just because you know what's going to happen if you play well, but at the same time, you can't be only thinking about that. You got to be thinking about the next shot, because there's so many things that could happen in between before they pick for Walker Cup. So, I mean, in this week, it's the USM, or anything can happen. So I'm not going to think about it at all. I mean, it'd be great to be part of your team, but if not, I get a chance to qualify with my team and play my first college tournament at Florida. So I get a chance to qualify and play with my team.
Yeah,
So
you got stuff to keep you busy, so you'll
exactly,
be
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So with junior golf, you're making your transition out of junior golf. You're going to play collegiately at the University of Florida. You go ahead and you've seen a lot of different parental dynamics, so to speak, at junior tournaments. You've probably seen the kind of the parents that are off to the side that kind of let the kid, do what they want to do. I'm sure you've seen the parents that are a little bit, very, very involved. I'm just curious, like, what has been your specific road to success in junior golf with, family backing, maybe practice schedules? How have you been able to set yourself up for success and ultimately leading to playing for the Gators in the fall?
My dad's been a part of my golf career the whole time. I mean, he's been a great role model and everything. And ever since when I was young, he would encourage us to go to the golf course and stuff. And what he used to do is he would used to give us like chores to do if we were just laying around or something.
Yeah.
But if we were playing golf, we wouldn't get chores. So we realized when that was like when my brother. That's when I was like 5 or 6, and my brother was like 8 or 9. So we realized, hey, if we play golf, we don't have to do chores. And then we kept playing golf, and then we fell in love with it and just kept playing. And then when we became older and older, he didn't force us to do anything. He kind of just let us do it on our own. And if we wanted help, we'd be asked, but he wouldn't be like breathing over our neck or anything. Because I mean, there are parents like that, and I'm not gonna say anything bad about them. They have their own ways to do things, and there's a lot of people who are successful like that. But the way my dad wanted to prepare me for college is to slowly let go. That way, I would be able to do things for myself. That way, he wouldn't have to like be like calling me every single day or before every single practice session or qualifying or anything like that. That way, he didn't have to like talk to me like before anything, or be like I can't do anything. You know what I mean? Like he wanted to be like where, when I'm younger, I obviously need help, but like once I got older and I got more mature and stuff like that, he would help if I asked for help, but he wasn't going to be like, or he'd give a suggestion every once in a while, but he wasn't going to be like, you need to do this, or anything like that. So I really thought the way my dad did it was the best, not just in general, just the best for me.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great because, I mean, it helped me mature a lot better and made me learn how to do things for myself. So that's the way that I thought it was most successful for me.
Well, obviously, it has been successful. You've played in numerous USAMs, U.S. juniors. Just to recap a little bit of your success and what you've been up to. I mean, 2-time AJGA All-American, and numerous accomplishments. And now you're kind of leading into this college life or college experience that you're going to go experience at Florida. You grew up in Yorba Linda, California, which is probably just about as far away from Gainesville as just about anywhere. So
I know, seriously.
Yeah. So how does Florida, tremendous history in that program, Coach J.C. Deacon? When did you first meet Coach Deacon?
Coach Deacon, I met when I was 11 years old. I remember exactly when. I mean, my brother was recruited by UNLV, and he was the assistant coach at that time. When my brother was 14, I remember sitting in Coach Dwayne Knight's office, and he was there, and I was just listening, sitting there, and I remember him telling me, he's like, "You're gonna be on my team one day." He's like, "I know, and I'm gonna get you on my team." Wow. And I've just been really close to JC. He's really been there for me this whole time for the last 7 years. So I mean, the biggest thing about college, I thought, was you have to love your coach and have to like be on the same page with your coach. I honestly don't think I could play for anybody besides JC. I mean, he's the coach I've wanted to play for since I was 11 years old. So he was a big reason about why I wanted to go to Florida. And then also, like, I like when I went to my unofficial, I loved the atmosphere of being at an SEC school. Sure. I thought it was really cool. And also I wanted to be in Florida because, like, the type of grass. Another thing is the type of grass of Bermuda out here, out there is a lot different than in California with Poana and stuff. So, and I used to always struggle in Bermuda. So, and they don't play Poana that much on tour or anything like that, or even in college events, not that much, especially out in the East Coast. So I always wanted to be out there so that I could get a little bit better on Bermuda and stuff like that. I knew it would help me in the future, because I mean, I know how to play bench and I know how to play Poana, but I've never really gotten really good at putting on Bermuda like I have with the other two. So I thought that was another big part. And yeah, and also I like the golf course is right next to the campus, which I really liked, which is, I wanted a course where, I could, if I had like an hour break, I could go and hit balls or practice or putt or something like that. All the other schools I looked at, there wasn't really anything that close by. So that was another big part.
I know people listening right now are thinking, okay, how old is this kid? Because I mentioned he's a junior golfer. You're 18 years old.
Yes.
Your father, Mark, obviously very supportive, as you mentioned, in your career. Any other advisors that you've had? Because I don't think I've really heard of a junior picking a school, not only for all the right reasons that you've mentioned, the coach and the facilities, but you're thinking about, okay, this is going to prepare me for playing on the PGA Tour, which I'm sure is one of your goals, and you're picking a place that has a certain grass that is going to help you in the future. So is that all you, or have you had maybe some other advisors that have kind of brought these things to your attention? Like, do you have any advisors right now that are kind of helping you along?
Honestly, my advisor is my dad. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. We've just thought about what's going to help me for the future. Cause obviously where I am right now in golf is really, really good. But obviously I've always thought as golf is a marathon, and you don't want to be your absolute best when I'm 18 years old. I want to be really good for when I'm older and stuff like that. Sure. So
Sure. No,
That's what I always thought. That's what I always thought, because, like, I don't want to be playing be the peak of my career right now. I want to peak when I'm on tour or something like that, because that would be a lot better than peak. I mean, obviously it'd be great to play my best golf right now and everything, but I know I can get better at a lot of things. So I always just thought, having perspective and looking into the future is a big part of playing golf, especially since it's a sport you can play for so much longer than other sports that you have to think ahead. Like when you play like basketball or something like that, you can only play for so long. I mean, you can only play till you're like 35, 40. Where golf, you can play up till when you're like 65 years old competitively. So I always thought you just have to keep in mind what is going to happen in the future if you do something like this or something. So I always thought just try to prepare yourself for the future.
Absolutely. No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I know that the Walker Cup is something you're kind of letting happen organically. If it happens, it happens. It's going to be links golf, obviously, over at Royal Liverpool. This would not be your first experience playing in a team format. You played the Junior Ryder Cup last year over in France. I know that wasn't maybe a traditional link style course, but tell me about that. I mean, if you can share anything about that team experience over there with just about, looks like all your buddies that you play play junior golf nationally with. You got Akshay and you got William Mao and you have, Thorbornson and all those guys and all the girls actually. So can you share maybe something about the Junior Ryder Cup that maybe some people wouldn't know about?
The thing is, competing for your country is so much fun. I mean, but I feel like there's almost more pressure than when you're competing for yourself, because I mean, you're like, if you lose, you let your country down. That's not really the case, but that's how you feel, because you're like, I'm competing for the USA. Like, I don't want to let my country down at all. So I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, competing out there, and it was really close by the end. I mean, I think we only won by 1 point. So it really could have been anybody's cup, but it really was a lot of fun, and being out there and being a part of that, seeing all the players that used to be on the team, like Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas and stuff like that, and Tony Finau and Rory McIlroy, where you get to see all those guys that used to be on the team, and they're playing in the real Ryder Cup now. So it's really surreal knowing that if we keep working hard and keep doing what we're doing, I mean, there's no question that we could absolutely be in the Ryder Cup in years to come. So
yeah, do you playing all this junior golf, and now you're playing the USAM and the Western, these are obviously open amateur tournaments where you're getting college players, juniors, mid-ams even. I'm just wondering, people talk a lot about the youth movement on the PGA Tour with players like Wolf and Morikawa and Hovland that have made the quick jump to success there. Do you see a massive difference between playing a U.S. junior versus a Western Am or a U.S. Am? I mean, the caliber of players, you don't sound like a junior golfer is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and at a U.S. junior, between a Western Am and a U.S. Am, there's I feel like it's a huge difference.
Okay, explain.
Because I mean, when you're at a U.S. junior, there are some kids that are 15 years old, 14, 16. I mean, they never really play, and sometimes they never really played a high level golf course, because I mean, Inverness Club this year was very, very tough. I mean, the rough was
yards.
Yeah, 7,400 yards. The rough was high. I mean, the greens were slopey. I mean, it was a tough course. I mean, I could definitely see, like, and then you also see how nervous some kids are, because they see Akshay, they see Carl, they see Michael, they see all these big names, and they get a little scared, even though all those guys, they're great players, but it's not like they're anything different than anybody else. I mean, they still just normal 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, just like anybody else. So like that. But when you go to like a Western Am or something like that, or you go to USM, you see there's a lot of good players, and they're a lot more mature when they play the game. Because when you're a junior, sometimes I used to do this too. You have like a pitching wedge in your hand, and you just aim directly at the flag or something like that, where you don't even think, you don't even look at the yardage book, you just hit it. Where when you're at a Western Am or a USAM, you got to think, hey, I got 130 yards here, but I can use this slope, or I can hit it here and just have a 20-footer because if I hit it here, there's so much more thought process.
Right.
I feel when you get to amateur golf, because you're just older and more mature. There are some guys out there that are, like Stuart Hagestad, who are 26, 27 years old, who are a lot more mature than a 15-year-old kid. Where they think around. It's not even like. It's just they just think around the course better just because they're older. They've got 10 more years of experience under their belt, which just comes with experience and age. So, I used to do the same thing.
So let's. And I was going to ask you this one. You mentioned not having to do chores if you're on the golf course. I'm curious, how many hours of video games do you play a day?
I'm going to be honest with you. I play 0 hours of video games. I don't have an Xbox. I don't have a PS4. I've never played Fortnite. I've never done any of those video games or anything like that. I'm being my dad never believed. He always thought, you never need video games. So from when I was a kid, I never really played video games that much. So I don't find interest in it. I'll watch it when my friends are playing or something like that, because you'll watch it. But I don't know how. You give me the control, I have no idea what I'm doing, because I was like, what do all these buttons do? But
you're the oldest 18-year-old I think I've ever spoken to in my life.
Yeah, I've never played. I never play video games. My dad the only thing we have is a Wii, and my dad and mom didn't even buy it. My grandma bought it for me, but I don't even use it or anything like that. I don't play video games at all. There are a lot of some of these people. I remember when I was at Junior Air Cup, and Kenan and Michael and these guys are talking about video games, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
Right.
I have no idea what they're talking about, because I'm so confused, because I never play.
Right.
But it's they completely understand, because when they play video games, it's not like playing video games it's not like they play 10 hours a day, but they play it out. They play an hour a day, just sometimes you get bored or something.
Yeah, just unplug the brain for an hour and just of course.
Exactly, yeah. But I genuinely don't play video games at all.
I'm not surprised at all listening to you talk. I'm like, yep, I totally see it. You let's see, were there any former Gators that you spoke to? Obviously, you knew you were going to go play for Coach Deacon, but
I actually talked to TJ Vogel.
Yeah.
And TJ Vogel was talking to me and just talking to me about how his experience at Florida was just better for him at that time. And, after I talked to him, I knew that Florida was the right place for me, just especially for golf. I thought it was a great place to mature and, become a better player, and also a better person to, grow up on my own. I don't have obviously I have Coach Deacon there and stuff like that, but it's not like I have someone, telling me what I need to do or anything like that. So I thought it was a good place for me.
You, well, listen, you are heading into the USAM, and obviously I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I went back and looked at it, and obviously I can't pinpoint who has made the biggest jump in the world amateur golf rankings, but at the beginning of 2019, you were number 76th in the world. And as of this week, you're ranked number 10. I think that is probably the biggest jump this year by any amateur. Congrats on all your success. Good luck at the USAM, and hopefully we'll see you in the future.
All right, thank you so much.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Akshay Bhatia, Ricky Castillo, and Julie Williams from AmateurGolf.com for joining me on this episode. Don't forget, follow along on social media, AmateurGolf.com, thebackoftherange.com. We'll see you next time on the Road to Hoylake, here at the back of the range.